And we're on. So,
Hello,
Barnes.
How are you,
Cheers.
mate? Cheers, champ.
Cheers. I've got non-alcoholic Guinness and you've got non-alcoholic Thatchers.
It's an apple juice bear.
Our current producer tried a different patch this time. He went from 5 straight down to 1, which didn't throw us into any turmoil at all.
He's laughing. I reckon he's got 2 people.
I reckon he's trying to stitch us up. All I can see at the moment is Bear and Barnes show on that. I don't know why. Oh, we're on.
Oh, I know.
Fantastic.
I've
Right.
got a really clue what's going on.
So, what's going on in today's show, Barnes? Well, in a packed show tonight.
Come on.
We're going to discuss our hats.
Yes, indeed.
Then we've got league results. We've got 4 league games happened for the first time this season. Fantastic. We've got the VKO result, which will be our last VKO result of the season.
I just want to point out that's not going to take long.
No, it's not going to take long. And it will be the last time that we have that on our agenda, sadly. Then we have a little bit of a discussion point, serious cricket discussion point on a slightly controversial incident that's happened during the last week. And then we're going to have another slightly controversial discussion on a very controversial racist issue that's also going on in the county. So we'll have a discussion around that. So 2 quite serious points that we will endeavour to take seriously and endeavour to come to some kind of conclusion, although not everyone will agree with what we say. Then we have our celebrity guest, Sam Cross, bat mender, bat creator extraordinaire. He's over there just getting quite nervous. He's got some tools with him that some people might not know what they are, but I actually once used one to defend myself in a fight.
Did you?
And then I went back to putting grips on my bat. So, and then Barnes has some questions for Sam in the usual funny, sort of serious, let's find more about Sam out way. And then I'll have some questions for Barnes, which this time are quite shocking. Then we'll talk about the podcast coming up. Then we'll talk about our next guest coming on the show. This is unusual because this is a Tuesday.
Yeah, it is a Tuesday.
So we actually have rent a crowd in. We have the current master in charge of cricket who's just polished off a curry, having been humiliated on the golf course by the person sitting to my left. But you can probably talk about that later. But in the meantime, should we just explain our hats? Would you like to go first with your hat?
This is a hat.
It is a hat.
It's a cricket hat.
Yes.
So we've been talking about it in the Sunday team. So obviously the Sunday team is the premier side of the club. Jazz hat cricket every Saturday. We get the odd hooligans that turn out want a 40-over game, so we don't invite them back after that. So we thought it's time we had some jazz hats, so there you go. So this is our wonderful Sunday 11 hat. It's got the initials on the back. It's all very good.
And do you have to be
matching jumpers?
Do you have to be a colour of the Sunday 11 to be able to wear one of those, or could anyone just buy one from the club shop?
Well, basically, if you paid up the right amount of dollar, you got one.
And they're on the club shop as we speak?
No.
So
no, these are
where does our viewer buy one of those if he wants to?
Talk to me nicely.
Okay, so if you want that viewer, talk to Barnes.
So there you go. So there's about 14 or 15 of these knocking about, and it's a beauty.
And does that mean you've got your colours?
Well, you can say whatever you want to say.
Fantastic, congratulations.
Whatever makes you happy. Tell me about your rather bizarre...
So this is my going to the Emirates watching Arsenal be fantastic hat. Which every time
you've been had on back to front for a month,
every time I go to the Emirates, no matter whether it's hot or cold or whatever, this hat goes on, and it's kind of it's where people who don't know where their seats are on the stand look for the hat, and then they know they're either sitting to the right of me, to my left, or behind me. So this is a very useful hat.
Are you as famous at the Emirates as you are here, in and around the vicinity of Oxford?
I do have my name on the back of my shirt just in case people forget that I am the big bad bear.
Right.
So I find that quite helpful. But no, there are plenty of other big bad bears.
And do you start the chanting and the singing and the referees?
No, I'm extremely respectful to all officials of all sports at all times.
Okay.
And you'd never hear me saying anything like that.
So do you remember last year when we were commentating, you were then going off to the arse?
Yes, I was.
And you said, I've got to learn a new song. And then you played it when we were live on commentary, and it was foul.
No, I'm not very happy with the new song, and I make a point of not singing it at the start. It's a bit miserable, there are some very good songs, but that is not one of them.
Yeah,
so
you're getting sacked in the morning. That's a good one.
That's a good one. So all those cries of Arteta out when we ended up only coming second, I think are premature, because I think second is a very good result for us. And may I also congratulate Newcastle for joining us in the top four.
Aye, we got a Geordie at the back of the shore there.
So this hat, needless to say, it's not very popular with some members of my family, because apparently I look a bit silly in it. But if you imagine this with my Arsenal top, then everything's fine.
And your big Arsene Wenger coat.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think you look great there.
Good. Well, I'm glad. I can't wait to see what hats we're going to wear next time. But anyway, so on to the first agenda point, the serious agenda point. I mean, that was quite serious. A serious agenda point. League results, Barnes. Could you tell us what happened this weekend at Oxford Downs?
Well, the first team, the second team, the third team all lost, the fourth team won. There you go. In a nutshell, that's about what happened. So obviously we were commentating on Great Brickhill versus the Downs here, and I think they were always in control and they probably deserved the win, but I think the first team showed a lot of spirit. Personally felt that the game could have got away from us and they could have won that in 35 overs, but we stuck together, we bowled well, we fielded okay, and we made a game of it, and I think they ended up winning by 5 wickets. It was a better game.
I think it demonstrated, then one of their guys their openers got 100. I think it demonstrates it in the 50 over game as well as the Red Bull game. You need one of your top 4 to bat through and get 100.
We had 2 30s and a 40, so we had 3 people that made a start and didn't go on. Second team game, I think Shippo, at the start of their innings, Shipton and Witchwood got off to a good start, and we clawed it back. I think we were chasing 224. We were 20 for 4 or 5, and then Kirtley at the top of the order, and Bunny Wildman came in to keep wicket, and I think he got 30 odd.
The ageless, incredibly good-looking Bunny Wildman, it should be said.
Man.
He's an incredibly handsome man.
Very good golf partner, I found out today as well.
Is that in the game where you beat the current master in charge of cricket?
That is the very same game.
And that was on the green course at Filford.
Yeah. So him and Kirtley ended up with 120 odd not out, and we needed 12 off the last over, and we were 6 short. So a fantastic game of cricket. Congratulations,
But Kirtley, the first centurion for the club this season.
Hopefully not the last.
Hopefully not the last. Yeah.
And then sadly, obviously in the VKO Horsepath, we restricted them to 176, and we were probably 50 short at the end. So bit of a disappointing way to go out the village. But I think Horsepath looked good. I think they've got all bases covered.
They hit more boundaries than we did, and their running between the wickets was probably better than ours. I'd say,
and we were 2 down quickly. They were 2 down quickly, and with Robbie Easton, they kept the run rate going, and we didn't. We had an awful lot of dot balls within that period, which probably ended up costing us. But some good catches, some good fielding, some good bowling, but batting left a little bit to be desired, and without blowing his trumpet, the guy that's just walked in here with a dicky knee, it was certainly the sort of game of cricket where we miss his talent, bat, ball and field. So result-wise, not great, Bear, but spending a day and a half with you is always a joy.
It was fantastic, and people were beginning to start to talk, because if this had happened yesterday, we'd have spent 3 consecutive days together.
What a dream.
Do you know what?
I'm glad we had a little break.
That's what Morecambe and Wise dreamt of, having that sort of connectivity.
And now I haven't got to wait so long to see you the next time.
No, it's fantastic.
But also, interestingly, on Sunday in comms, we had our first cake delivered.
We did.
Like test match
by the lovely Shelley. Thank you very much indeed. We had a bear paw donut.
You did. And I had a bizarre cake that had like something, the contents of coronation chicken in the middle of it.
She is a multi-talented woman, Shelley. And you've heard that here first.
I wouldn't know about that, but she makes a fine cake. So, Bet, let's get down to some serious
just good luck to Horsepath. They're going to be playing.
Very much so.
They're going to be playing who in the next round?
So Tiddington beat Rowan. I think Tiddington were restricted to 120-ish. Bowled Rowan out cheaply. So Tid's always been a club close to my heart, because they're full of good old boys. Great village club. And I think that'd be a good final, and there'll be lots of booze drunk.
People would have expected Rowan to win that one.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. But I think look out, Tid. I think Horsepath are a very, very strong side in the village knockout. Okay,
so now we're on to the first of our serious points. Not that the rest of our podcast isn't serious, but these are particularly serious. And we're going to run some video now with our current producer, if he can press the right buttons and make sure the right cables are connected to the right pieces. And so just watch this short video, and then we'll have a chat about it afterwards.
I'm not sure if we're allowed to talk, Bear. We're still live, Bear.
I'm just about to drink my drink.
That's okay, you can. Your mum's not watching yet.
So, are we allowed to talk about the current producer and
the dog?
Some of the issues
and
that he's been having. Oh no, we're on now.
When Claire, you mean when Claire went away?
Okay, so
back on.
Have they watched the video? Yes. So, viewer, you have watched the video. So, cut a long story short, George Tate, who was on a well-constructed 72, was run out backing up by the bowler, who followed through with his action and didn't let go of the ball and lobbed it onto the stumps, all in one action. So we've seen this happen once or twice over the years, Barnes, and perhaps you'd just like to give your views on it, and then I'll do my sitting on the fence piece.
It's obviously creeping into the game a lot more. You used to get a warning, the law wasn't, you didn't need a warning, etc., etc. But I've got a couple of things that, as a Sado, I still framed it, Bear, and you can see that, and I know the camera can't, but if you look, the umpire's got to look, check the front foot, check where the batsman is, and check when the bails come off. Yeah. You can't have 3 eyes going. If you had 2 eyes going to the same place, you work at the toll bridge in Ensham.
I think the key is, if you could show that up to the camera, I don't know whether the camera will be able to see this, but the one thing that's clear to me in this photograph is that George Tate is not scampering down the wicket to get an advantage. He is doing what all batsmen do, which is as the bowler comes in, he watches the bowler, and then as the bowler comes in, he turns and starts gently walking down the wicket. So he wasn't trying to pinch a strike, he wasn't trying to pinch a single. It was just a normal piece of cricket. 100 times out of 101, no one would blink an eyelid at that until what happened. So
I think that the authorities have either got to make a decision and say this is no longer a way of getting out, which they probably won't do. But I think the culture within within cricket is getting worse and worse and worse, and has been for a long time, where ungentlemanly conduct has completely gone out the game. And I know I talked to you guys a little bit earlier about an incident between 2 teams that in Oxfordshire, as a young man goes out to bat this Saturday, was told, "I hope you end up in an ambulance." So of which the umpires hear that and they reported the said cricket team. I mean, how can that happen in our cricket? And weirdly, Bear, the higher you go in sport, the less of this rubbish there is.
Well, they can't risk it because there are cameras and microphones everywhere,
it's not that, because they concentrate on the game of cricket or rugby or football, and they don't get into this willy-nilly, I'm tougher than you nonsense that's going on at the minute, and the culture's rotten. On the flip side of it, because it's creeping in more and more and more, don't get caught out by it.
I think that's the point. I mean,
end of.
Just a couple. Obviously, this has been posted on Twitter, so nothing that we're showing and nothing that we're saying is new. It's out in the public domain, so we can read these things. I've just got a couple of comments that I'd like to read out from Twitter. Obviously, there are 1 or 2 people in favour of the way the bowler acted. I'm not sure whether some of that is tongue in cheek. But in general, it's all saying that this is not what cricket is all about. I had a very well-known headmaster, who I shall remain nameless, but he does go on tour with me every year, and he's a very nice guy, and he's just done the marathon. You know who you are. Says the cricket gods got it right, because incidentally, Oxford went on to win the game against Buckingham, and not a feature of cricket that should be encouraged, in my view. That's from the headmaster. But I scrolled down and I wasn't sure whether this is a genuine one, but I think it is, because it's got his picture on it. Jack Russell MBE said, no skill in taking that wicket, none whatsoever. Making cricket a skillful game, and the bowler's trying to get the batsman out. For me, sitting on the fence as I usually do, I absolutely despise that kind of behaviour on a cricket pitch, and I don't like it. It's not the way that cricket is supposed to be played. If the batsman has to stay rooted in his crease all the time. Now, don't get me wrong, if the batsman is cheating and the batsman is trying to gain an advantage, if George was legging it down the wicket and was 3/4 of the way down at the point of delivery, I think the bowler has every right to warn once, and then if he does it again, to get him out, because they are trying. But in that video, it's absolutely clear that George was just doing what every single batsman does. So I think one of the comments that we've seen is absolutely right, that if this is going to be happening more and more, then you're going to have to just stay rooted in your crease.
But to be fair, if you've got your bat in your hand and as the bowler's individual stride, your bat is still in the crease, then you've still got a yard or 2 anyway.
Yeah.
So it's a shame that we need to eke it out the game. But if you end up playing against players of that ilk, then fair enough. If that's the way they want to be, you just got to be a little bit more cautious about it. Rub their bloody noses in it, give them a good tonking, have a glass of beer and go home.
And if we can give any advice from this podcast, because our boys are going to Buckingham on Saturday, stay in your ground.
Yeah, and don't get involved in a load of silly chat.
No silly chat and no banter, because banter was something that happened a long time ago with Barnes and myself back in the day, but we're all much more sensible than that now. So I think in general, the feeling is it's not really proper cricket.
I'd say definitely not proper cricket.
Not proper cricket.
Not the Duns thing.
If you saw that happening in an MCC game at Lord's, it might be frowned upon, but it is within the laws of the game.
I think they should have 40 lashes.
As you know, the great Ted Heap has a view on picking up a cricket ball by the batsman. Should never ever happen, because technically, if you ever pick a cricket ball up, even if you've been given permission to do so beforehand and somebody appeals, technically you have to be given out. Again, not in the not in the ethos of the game. But anyway, so let's move on. So we have one other. There is a current issue. We're not going to go into any details on what's going on here, but we do understand from the Oxford Mail that there is a current investigation going on into racist behaviour in an Oxfordshire cricket match a few months ago, or quite recently, and we just want to we want to sort of reiterate from our point of view, there's no place for racism in the world, let alone in cricket matches. And we've had the same thing with Vinicius Junior on the football pitch this week as well. It just seems to be that there are some people that just don't get it, and it still seems to be bubbling away. And the only way that as a nation, as a world, we're going to stamp it out is to make people regret what they've done and hold them to task. And I don't know where this is going to go, where the results of this inquiry are going to go. It is being inquired into by the ECB, so it's going to the very top. So whatever happens, I hope they take the right action and it's stamped out as much as possible.
I think what amazes me is that I think that we have learnt an awful lot, certainly as the generations go on, and Cross is the same era as Will and Ollie and Freddie and Gus, etc., etc. They have a completely different outlook because their education around this is miles better than it was when we were, and certainly when my father, etc., etc., etc. So this has happened on the cricket field between two young gentlemen of a similar age, and I cannot, for the life of me, get my head around it. Now, whether or not it's said in jest or banter, the word that's been used is one that we don't use. That's it. We don't use it. So I can't understand why, whether or not it's banter or not. It's not banter. And whether or not, whatever your views are, your views, and everyone's entitled. A really, really close dear friend of mine was called that word every single day at school. Now, her father was from St. Lucia, so she wasn't an Indian or a Pakistani, and we've had lots of really good discussions about things like this, and until you've been in that situation where you've been abused every single day of your life, you don't really understand it. We don't understand it. No. We don't. Me and you had some chirp because we might be slightly overweight, but it's not the same as that. So for that to go on nowadays, I think in sport is absolutely outrageous. One thing I would say about, I don't know how you get to have authority within cricket, rugby, football, apart from being spineless and having no knackers. And I think it's time these people grew up and started taking some serious action. And me and you talked about it off air about whether or not said person should be banned from county. Said person should be banned from cricket.
Yep, I think
end of.
It makes it all the more extraordinary after all that we've been through with Yorkshire County Cricket Club over the last year, that it's still happening and people still don't realise that it's offensive. It should be stamped out, it should be dealt with harshly, and we should never see it again.
I want to say their views are mine, not Oxford House Cricket Club. I don't want to
absolutely,
but it rattles me.
Anyway, so it is a cricket podcast, so we have to view the current events and interesting things that are going on. But now, for something completely different. We are delighted to say we have an expert in our midst, and he is coming in with all of his tools to show us all about making, repairing, and being a cricket bat doctor. So,
Sam Cross, enter the room.
Well done, Sam. Welcome. Please come in.
Thank you very much.
What have you got there? Oh, these are all presents, because we've had socks, we've had all sorts, and now me and Pat. How are you, bud?
Fine, how are you?
Yeah, good. Firstly, don't be nervous, because I know you've been a bit... He's texted me 5 times a day for the last 7 weeks.
Really?
Panicking like mad.
Honestly, we're very friendly. It's a bit like being in between Chaz and Dave. You know, don't worry about a thing.
I thought we were better
and Diamond and Nick. What was his name?
Compton.
No, it wasn't him. No. Anyway. So, Barnsley.
Yeah.
So what should we talk about these tools?
So quickly, Sam, just tell our viewer a bit of history about your cricket and where you grew up playing cricket and who you currently play for. And then for me, the most exciting thing is how you got into doing this, having the kahunas now to do this for a living, because it's a brilliant story. Over to you, Tim.
Firstly, thanks for having me on. Sport, football, cricket, it's always been a big part of my life. And I first started off playing cricket at Ensham, on to Whitney Swifts, Whitney Mills, and Cumnor. And I think that certainly with sport, and I got to the age of realising that, I'm not going to be taking sport further in a playing capacity. I'm trying to look at ways that I can perhaps stay in the game and offer it something in a different way. And I think, football boots and cricket equipment, my bats, gluing the toe guards back down and all of that type of thing was always something that intrigued me, I think. And eventually, I took a trip down to Screwfix, got all my tools and the cheapest sander possible, and, the different things that you've seen guys on YouTube use to repair their sticks.
At that time, were you working? Were you at college? Were you at uni, or did you have a job? Or
that time, when I first did that, I think it was after uni. So I'm sort of twiddling my thumbs a little bit, not sure what I want to do. And I was playing cricket at Whitney Mills at the time, and yeah, I just managed to persuade a few of those guys to trust me with their bats. You know, after fiddling around with some of my own, and then after that, it just snowballed, really.
Can I ask why you've done hair wax as a product?
You could try it.
I'll try it.
So,
I got some in.
so when we were young, Matt and I, we used linseed oil, and because it was before things like back covers went on, and you linseed it so much that it actually went dark brown. You never see that now. But so, does wax work in the same way as as linseed oil?
Yeah, the wax it's a bit of a gimmick. I mean, what it does is that the added beeswax just means that you at home can get a nice sheen on your bat with a rag, whereas the polish that we achieve on the bats that we make and repair is done on a buffing wheel. So the added beeswax to the raw linseed oil formula, which we've got here, obviously the raw linseed oil, essentially that is just oil with some wax.
So professionals wouldn't put that on the edge of their bat so that it doesn't show on Snicko.
So
I mean,
is that all?
Would the professionals be allowed to use that? Would it show up on Snicko if they had that on the corners of their bat?
They can use that. Most pro bats are pretty dry, but you know, they
Is that more to make it look good? Because there's a lot of poses in cricket, so you put it on and they can use it as a mirror before they go to the bat.
It doesn't get that shiny.
I don't know whether or not Perks is watching, but he used to straighten his hair in the changing room before he went to the bat. Remember Jamie Perkin? Calling you out, son.
Every year he gives me his bats in sort of September, picks them up in April. So shout out to Perks for that one.
So do you mostly repair bats, or do you make bats as well?
I'll be honest, it is mostly repairs. Certainly numbers wise, I've been making bats for sort of the last sort of 2 or 3 years, and that is thanks to Andreas, formerly of Saf Bats, who we had a mutual friend, and he came over to Ensham one night and taught me all he knows, and that's why I'm making bats where I am now. So
what a legend!
Yeah, he's a legend. Yeah,
and those gloves look pretty robust. I think the batsman at Chesham the other day could have done with a pair of these gloves.
Oh, I see what you've done there.
And it might not have hurt him so much. We might have actually got a whole game in.
Bear,
what do you think about that?
Let it go.
just talking out loud. Sorry.
No, I thought we'd been watching Frozen. Okay, so you're at Mills. You just left uni. You're buggering about, not really know what to do. So you go to Screwfix.
Yeah, honestly, it was just like that. I mean, it was a passion inside me that I just couldn't really ignore, and sort of taking that step from it being a hobby into a business is another thing altogether. But you know, the first time that you have a member of the public's bat in your garage, or even one of your friends, it's kind of a bit daunting, because you could easily mess it up, especially when you're just sort of starting off. So yeah, it was just it was something inside me that I couldn't really ignore, and it's just snowballed. Every single step that I've made has eventually sort of paid off. And
imagine if you got a circus or a buffer mixed up, you'd have been ill.
Yeah, I mean, could have happened at the start.
So predominantly you deal with bats, but obviously you've got your own branded gloves as well.
Yes.
And how does that work? You have a supplier, and they brand it on your behalf.
Yeah, so that's all India or Pakistan.
Okay.
That's actually an interesting topic at the moment. So I believe it is now that we are outside of the EU. We are, if I get these words right, we're legislating our own PPE. So now the British government have decided that protective items for cricket are now classed as PPE, which means that we have to go and get those items tested in the UK.
So it's almost like that stations. British kite mark, British standard, to make sure they're of it.
Yes.
So those would work really, really well for that blood guy in Chesham.
And being PPE, we've presumably got 2,500 lorries full of the stuff that's not being used.
Yeah.
Would that be really weird with a bit of take?
I thought we weren't doing politics on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but also the point I'm getting to is that it's going to cost £3,000 an item to get them tested.
Ooh.
And
so you
per dexterity. So for me, that's 12 grand to stock a pad and a glove like that in left and right hand. So I'm getting out of pads and gloves basically.
So what you're saying is that it may be safe for a right-hander, but it's not for a left-hander until you've tested it.
Yeah. And that's so. I don't want to devalue your brand, right? But I guess somebody in India or the manufacturer of that would put your logo on it, and then Bear and Barnes started their own thing, or Stewie the Johnny started doing his own brand.
Exactly, yeah.
So each one of those brands would have to go through that test to make sure it's up to standard.
Yes.
What a load of old baloney.
It is really, because it's going to be the same product that I've got now, which I'll go and get tested. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going
And I
to
suppose
get out of that.
if you don't, from an insurance point of view, you're opening yourself up for some pretty big lawsuits.
Oh, 100%.
If you played for Cheshire and got one on the handy and got a hurty.
I thought you were going to leave it.
Was I? Sorry.
Oh, that was me. That was me. Wasn't it?
That was you leaving it on.
So these, as we know, are bat gripper putter honours.
Yes.
And why is that one extra long?
Well, it's an interesting point. So
I was about to say something then, but I'm glad
honestly,
I
it's a
did.
very straightforward. There are a lot of people that don't know what these are. They may have all
that's-
sorts of ideas about what they are, but they're not. These are to put grips on bats.
That's got some length,
so
hasn't it, Bear?
well, yeah, this one's just got a nice story to it. Basically,
I'm sure it has.
this
It tickles bits.
it's not why it's that. It's not why it's that colour.
Okay.
So this used to belong to Gordon Clack, basically. So we obviously put on hundreds or thousands of grips with that grip cone. This is what grip cones are like now.
Yes.
And if you look closely on this, I don't know what year it's from, but it's got stamps of Lily Whites in London, which is where
Fantastic.
Right.
those of you that are aware
So
of Gordon
that
Clack.
is, that is an antique, and
Yes.
and probably you should possibly hang that over your door.
Well, yeah, so something like that. I'm not going to use it. It's in a bit of disrepair, but that's something I'm going to treasure and remember him by. Those that remembered Gordon.
That's amazing, isn't it?
in Ducklington.
Because going to Lily White's as a kid was like mega. It was a mega day out, wasn't it?
Lily White's is a bit disappointing.
And now
though.
it's Sports Direct.
It is a little bit disappointing.
Anyway, sorry, Sam. Carry
Yeah.
on.
So these things. So we as amateurs, we put grips on bats for many years, and it never quite works out right. I always end up with either too much down the bottom, or at the top you have to bang it down like that.
Yeah.
Have you, when you do it, does it go right?
I mean, there's a lot of
every
luck.
time?
No, not really, because a bit of luck. You know, you can kind of roll it down. It's too high, and that last roll will take it too low. You can ease it down. You can just take it off and do it again if you've got time.
And Freddie Bear did this a lot when he was a kid. He used to bang it down there because it creates an airlock.
Yeah.
When you do that, and it sort of seems to go down a bit. But if it shows, probably shows that you grip the bat too hard if it keeps riding up with wear.
It's just vibrations as well. If you toe the ball a lot, your grip will soon ride up. So.
So how's the business going now? You glad you've plunged into it? Obviously, you said you're coming away from gloves and pads because of obvious reasons. Unless we can find a really good benefactor sponsor, somebody wants to come in and buy 50%.
That's not the issue, but
No, I know.
Yeah. But no, really good, thank you. As of the start of this year, I only do the bats, but yeah, my business overall, you know, that is all I do now. But I do sell a lot of products on Amazon, eBay, a few bits on Etsy, and my website. So overall, my business, you know, keeps me going. But the bat repairs and the bat making is just, I don't know what percentage of my business that is, but it's kind of, you know, what I do on Amazon and eBay, which people don't see, is what is probably allowing me to just do that, do my business as a job.
So can you also tell me, now this is a bit like asking someone to invent the everlasting light bulb, but how much should a bat be broken in before you use it? And do you put the helicopter rotor blade cover things on the front as well?
Yeah, I put them on every bat, every repair as well. But the amount of preparation you give a bat depends on how firmly it's being pressed. Like you might get some bats that are, you know, very, very firmly pressed and they need less knocking in. And you can generally tell with the mallet, the size of the indentation that the mallet's making on the bat, or the seam marks from a ball. And you can sort of gauge it like that. I think most people, you know, good cricketers who have used a lot of bats over the years, that is sort of a staple, you know, that is something they should have a good understanding of, really.
Cue my V12 from 1985. There's a little present for you, Sam.
Could you see what you can do with that? That's actually, although it's 35 years old, it's only scored 40 runs.
Yeah,
so
and 30 of those came, 30 of those came from a
condition.
friend. But it's funny what you were just saying then, because I got rinsed the other week about my bat being, you still got that old brown bat, and I think we had the conversation the other day.
Yeah.
Now, I take great pride in taking my bat home, sanding it, oiling it at the end of the year, etc., knocking a bat in, because that's what I grew up the same as you probably grew up with.
Yeah.
But these lads here like spending 500 quid on a bat every 20 minutes, and I don't get it.
Well, they're built for performance, not durability, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, and they're built for professionals who can afford to have lots of bats,
Which
not
is
poor
fine.
fathers who have
But
to keep buying the bats.
If it had the same theory as the Nokia 8110 that finished Nokia as a brand of a telephone, if a decent cricket bat lasts as long as it would, Gray Nichols and those sort of boys wouldn't be going.
I still be working.
Used to be no, because but now you've got loads to mend, haven't you? Because they just like balsa wood.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
who's that guy? I will.
So So, repairing bats, do you come in when they... Because I tend to find that Freddie's bats always seem to go bottom corner like this. They always get a little bit of a crack going there. How would you repair that? You'd glue it, pin it? What would you do?
I mean, each one's different. Well, certainly if the corner's coming out, you'd probably glue it, get it back in shape and put a couple of dowels in from the edge just to kind of make that region stronger, link it back up to the rest of the bat.
And this looks like a nice bat. It's got some nice grains.
Yeah,
I actually wouldn't mind having a bit of a bat with that myself.
So I shaped that up to bring on tonight. I mean, it's for stock sort of thing. But
beautiful.
Yeah.
And what would you, just so our viewer knows, what would you be selling this bat for?
That's a grade 1 from stock, so that would be, I think it's 265 at the moment for a grade 1 from stock.
That's incredibly good value, listener.
So a grade 1 from any other bat maker, i.e. a branded, we're talking £500-600.
This is extremely good value.
Just quickly, Sam, what's the best way, obviously you're on Insta and all the social media, anybody out there watching that wants a bat repaired or they want to come and see you for a new bat, what's the best and easiest way round for a silly old fart like me or Bear or a young up-and-coming youngster or a celebrity?
Well, get hold of me on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Arrange when I'm there to come and drop off, have a conversation, and I'll see what I can do for you.
So, is it guesswork to get your number for WhatsApp, or can you got a website? You got Insta, you're on Facebook. Here's a chance for you to plug your little business.
Facebook.
Buddy.
If you ever see OX29 on Facebook, that is not me anymore. That Facebook is essentially a floating page now. I got hacked.
Okay.
About a year ago, so I don't have access to that page, unfortunately. But
right. So no Facebook.
No Facebook.
Insta.
Insta's the main one, probably. But my numbers. There's a little a WhatsApp widget on my website where it leads you to a WhatsApp conversation of my number, so you can get hold of me on there, and we can sort that out basically.
Looking at your Insta, I mean, some of the bats that you brought in are just, it's like they're write-offs, aren't they? It's just horrific.
Yeah.
And can you virtually turn any bat round?
I mean, I'm always as honest as I can be with the customer in terms of whether I think that bat is repairable. But there are lots of people with, like this bat for you, for example. It's got sentimental value, so I can't always guarantee that it's gonna, you're gonna take it out and score 100 with it. But
well, no, because somebody else might.
This bat is really desperate to score 100. I can assure you.
Virtually any bat can be glued up, but
I'm not worried about using that. I just want to sex it up and try and make it look like it used to. That's all, because then I can go and see Alan Lamb and get him to sign it.
Fantastic. We have one or two little comments here. Luke List. Could you possibly sponsor the lists? I think he means all of them.
Well, I'll be completely honest about sponsorship. I don't really do it, and the reason is because the prices that I have on my website and stuff at the moment, or since I've started, are all kind of as low as they can be. So I like to help young cricketers, and I like to help people out where I can.
Thank goodness for you. Thank goodness for you. Parents around the county, around the country, around the world will be breathing a sigh of relief for that, because cricket equipment is expensive.
Especially a grade 1 bat. Anything else? Any other grovelling messages on there?
Well, Martin Lee says, what a great show, guys. Thank you, Martin. Better than anything else on the TV. So it's even better than EastEnders, apparently.
That was just silly.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's ridiculous. And
what else we got? Gordon Clack, a legend.
Who said that?
Luke List.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so...
He's right.
So there's all the serious bit. Now, as you know, you don't come on this show, there's no such thing as a free lunch or a free half pint of Guinness. You now get subjected to some very searching questions about your personality, your knowledge and your ability from Barnes. So
it's right, get cancelled now.
So I think there's only, 20 questions?
Yeah, it's not even that.
It's not even 20 questions.
And I've been really gentle with it.
Have you been gentle with it?
I should have watched last week, because that's when I could have prepped my answers, but I didn't. So
now you've just basically told you're not interested in our show.
No, I just didn't get that far.
Is there any other bat makers out there who would like to come on for a plug next week? Right, just quickly. Are you ready? This is quick fire, bing bang. What first thing comes to your mind? First cricket in memory.
The beach in Lowestoft.
Oh, I love that. Bat or bowl?
Bat.
Who is your all-time sporting, i.e. non-cricketing hero? Sporting hero.
I don't want to say him.
No, go on, say it.
No, KP, yeah.
Yeah, no, fine. Somebody else said that earlier on. They're no longer with us.
He's a
first cricketing icon. Is that still saying KP?
Yeah, KP, yeah.
When you leave Cumnor, what cricket club are you coming to?
Ensham.
Oh, good answer. Good answer. Best cricket tees, which club?
I I think it was away last season at...
Oxford Downs.
No, I wasn't picked for here, was I? No. It's a... Harefield. I think it was Harefield away.
Yeah.
It was elite.
But can I just say that yesterday's tea, Sunday's tea up here was sensational.
Favourite ground you've played cricket at?
Cumnor.
Weirdo. Favourite position?
In what? In what context?
Favourite position?
You can answer it as you see fit.
Favourite position? Centre midfield.
So dull.
Favourite beer?
Stella.
Who would you most like to meet who's alive, and who would you most like to meet that's dead?
Who'd I most like to meet that's alive? Probably one of the best bat makers, Tim Keeley, someone like that.
Okay, good.
And dead?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd like to have a chat with Gordon Clack again.
Oh, good. That's fantastic. Best film and why?
Probably Saving Private Ryan. I could watch that over and over and not get bored of that.
It's a great film.
Okay.
It's a great film.
Who's the best bat maker? Not you.
The best bat maker that's not... I mean, I was obviously definitely 100% not going to be me. Alex Hohenkirk at Grey Nichols, I think, is making some unbelievable bats at the moment for pros, so probably him.
Okay. Best branded bat. So if there's anybody out there that wants to spend a silly amount of money, is there one or not? Is there a go-to brand?
Keeley is certainly trending at the moment, making a lot of pro bats, making a lot of bats for pros that aren't sponsored by them, so they're the trending.
Okay,
Grey Nichols did a Rolling Stones version of one of their bats that cost £1,000.
No way.
Because it had the Rolling Stones tongue.
That's
icon
outrageous.
on it. Yeah.
Favourite quick-fire joke?
You're asking the wrong guy.
Okay, thanks for that. Have you always been good with your hands?
Always.
Who can we ring to back that up?
Anyone.
Can I have a number? So we do it now.
Our phone's over there, but you
can
give her a ring.
08000.
What's your final ambition for OX29? Where do you want to see it in 5 years' time?
Oh, that's a very tough question. I would love to not be in my parents' garage and doing it somewhere in public with opening times, etc. Like a business, like a proper business. Whether that's viable, I don't know. We'll see what happens in 5 years, because I've kind of got to where I am currently in the last 5 years, and that is not somewhere that I expected to be. So we'll see. I mean, I'd love to be making bats for pros one day, and just generally doing more of what I love. So
brilliant.
Well
Love
done.
it.
Brilliant, and very best of luck. You might think of when there's a six-a-side tournament or something like that, bringing your gazebo and your table and just letting it go with the flow. See what happens.
Love to.
Yeah. Brilliant. Anything else you want to add, Sam? Or not? I know we touched on it. We've probably gone a little bit asked about face, but obviously Clacky was a legend. Ducklington had a garage, etc., etc. And you said that was it his daughter and his son got in contact with you?
Yeah. So the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I think where that passion came from was, like many Oxfordshire cricketers, and certainly West Oxfordshire cricketers, spent many hours in his garage going through his bats, going through his equipment, and that is where I think my passion comes from. Some kids want to go to Toys R Us, and don't get me wrong, I did, but it got to a point where all I wanted to do was go to Ducklington, go to see Gordon, go see what he's got, and and recently his daughter reached out to me because they're finally sort of selling the house and whatever where he lived, and going through the garage and the stuff that he had in there, and
Amazing.
This is when I got the opportunity. This is what I wanted for a long time. His trusty old grip cone, and that's something that I'm going to remember him
Just
by.
as a matter of interest, is it more accurate than the modern ones? Does it get them on better?
Well, I think the fact that it's so long, the taper is so long, I think you could almost get it all the way down and roll straight down from that end, if that makes sense. Whereas on these ones, you turn it over. Because obviously it's not
long enough.
I've not actually tried it. I don't want to do any harm to it. I want to, look after this and treasure it. So.
Great to see.
Brilliant, Sam.
Okay.
Thank you
so
mate.
much.
Thanks for your
Thanks
time.
for coming on.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you.
Enjoy that?
Cheers.
Yeah, I loved it.
Good. Cheers. Top man. Well done. Really, really good. That was great.
You can leave the stock. You can clear that later.
That was great. Right then.
So Barnes.
Do I walk away now?
Yes, if you wouldn't mind. We're done with you.
So we've just got a few very important parts of our regular agenda to get through. I've got some questions for Barnes. Been prepared very diligently at the office, and then we'll go through who we've got coming on future shows, and when those future shows are going to be. We'll have to get our current producer involved in that. Right, Barnes, are you ready?
Yes, I am, my love.
Question
You're going to be nasty. I've
number
got a
one.
feeling this is going to be horrible. Go on.
Kenny Dalglish or Sadio Mane?
Kenny Dalglish or Sadio... Oh, Kenny.
King Kenny. Favourite pub name?
The Whip It In.
And the favourite pub that you've been to?
Oh, you're asking the wrong guy. Probably Waxy O'Connor's in London. It's a bouncer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Never been there myself. Where is it in London?
Just off Shaftesbury Avenue, I think.
Fantastic. Who will win the Men's Rugby World Cup this year?
The two teams in the final, one with the most points.
Fantastic.
So it's going to be between France. It can't be between France and Lana because they're drawn together because the seedings were done 300 years ago.
France
which is
and
a
All
bit
Blacks,
weird. It's going to be odd. Yeah, it's going to be a bouter.
I don't think it's going to be England, but you might.
No.
I'd be very happy to be wrong on that.
No.
Right, smooth or crunchy peanut butter?
Neither, because I don't really like it.
Current producer, do you like peanut butter?
So if I was to choose
believe
and
that.
give you an answer, I would say smooth. But yeah,
Okay.
there we go. Sorry.
Right, Gus is bowling at will in a first v second trial match. Gus knocks Will's peg out of the ground, cartwheeling back towards the goalkeeper, towards the wicketkeeper. Do you A, jump for joy, B, look miserable and sad for Will, or C, try to show no emotions at all?
I'd probably gently applaud Gus and then see what mood Will was in when he walked past me.
Okay, so just confirming the fact that that means that Gus is your favourite. Okay, so
You're such a bad
England's best ever all-rounder cricket.
Oh, IT Botham.
Stokes is getting there,
No.
but bowling-wise, IT Botham, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
But Stokes
To be
is
fair,
good.
you know, Beefy had really bad hair, he had a bad tash, he used to drink and booze, but he didn't fight. I mean, you can't compare the two. I'm sorry, you can't.
And he's a
not for
lord. He's a lord.
And he's not for New Zealand.
And he sells foot vibrating machines.
Yes, he does.
I've
doesn't
got
he?
one of those.
No way.
Way.
Do you have a lady called Janet that
I
you
don't
meet
know
on
who
a
Janet
Tuesday
is.
for
She
a
didn't
walk?
come with it. I was expecting her to come with it, but she didn't come with it. No.
Just ends up in your garden.
No, I
going
did.
for a
I was
walk.
pleased to say that Ian Botham's feet look a lot like mine, which is good.
they?
Yeah. I've done that. Best cricket captain that you ever played under?
Oh, that's a good... from a mindset point of view and fielding, etc., and thinking about the game, Paddy, but he was not the most aggressive of captains, but certainly get the Cherwell League handbook out, this, that and all the rest of it. But I would go with Paddy, because that'll put a smile on his face.
Paddy the Potter Daniel.
Yeah.
Who went to a very fine school.
Yeah.
Very fine school. Two Ronnies or Morecambe and Wise?
Two Ronnies.
And on that subject, because I knew you were going to answer that, could you just reenact a Two Ronnies sketch for me, please?
Well, I suppose the old Four Candles and all that sort of stuff would be very good.
Four Candles.
Mond
Have you got any O's?
Yeah. Very good.
Pumps. Got any pumps?
Got any pumps? Got any peas?
Excellent, fantastic. What goes ha 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 plop? A man laughing his head off.
Jesus,
I would just like to break the tension there for a second. Flares or drain pipes?
Oh, Shawaddy Waddy drain pipes. I love Shawaddy Waddy. I'd like to go for a walk with you under the moon.
Shawaddy Waddy, yes. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
Ah, good one. What would it be? Be a little bit calmer, probably.
Calmer.
Chameleon.
If you could choose a superpower, what would that be?
To be like you, Bear.
And what would your name be?
Spiker Maguire.
Fantastic. Which is grammatically correct? The yolk of an egg is white, or the yolk of an egg are white?
First one.
No, they're both wrong, because the yolk of an egg is yellow.
Very good.
Did any of you fall for that, listener?
Yeah.
I sincerely
Sorry,
hope
you
not.
rotten man.
Best keeper you've ever played with?
Best wicket keeper. A guy called Charlie Pegg. When I was the only scrote that played in the county as an under-16-year-old, because they were all public school boys, and obviously I was at Bartholomew. So a guy called Charlie Pegg was at Radders, was just
Radley.
different gravy.
Do they have a school at Radley?
Yeah, they did at
Do
the
they?
time. Yeah,
Did
I'm not
they?
sure it's closed, I think, now.
Closed.
But yeah, so obviously that age group, one or two boys that could chuck the pill down a bit sharp, and he'd sit there with his old snozzer on middle stump all day long. He was phenomenal.
Brilliant. Sam Allardyce
Yeah.
or Roy Hodgson?
Oh, Roy, definitely Roy. Roy's a much better bloke than Sam Allardyce, isn't he?
And final question: are you looking forward to Thursday night football?
Thursday night, yeah. I'm buzzing for that because obviously I should be at rugby and I shall miss.
As someone that's watched a lot of Thursday night football,
no, to be fair,
I don't envy you.
To be fair, I've dished it out with a few of those fans that normally watch Thursday night football, and I've got to suck it up and get on with it. But question for you: if Liverpool would have won the Champions League this year, we would have gone into the Champions League for next year, right? So Man City, as they've won the league, if they win the Champions League this year, do we get it because we finished fifth?
No.
Where does that spot go? Does it just disappear?
It goes somewhere else in Europe.
Where does it go?
I don't know. I think one of the teams that would be in the playoffs. I have had this discussion with someone. We don't get 5 teams in it anymore, I don't think. But I may be wrong. Viewer, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, so well done, Barnes. Those are your questions. Well done, your 20 questions.
Thank you.
Next podcast coming up.
Well, we got into that fortnightly cycle, but then obviously it's messed up the next week's bank holiday, isn't it? So are we going to go back on to next week and then fortnightly after that? I'm happy to do whatever.
We'll have to let the current producer know, but we could say who we've got coming on. I know on the 3rd of June, we're going to have Dylan Swanepoel from Oxford Cricket Club talking about
that run out.
Mental. No, he's not going to talk about the run out, and how he might be talking about George and how George has reacted to what happened to him.
Yes.
But general mental health issues around sport and around cricket in particular, which we're very much looking forward to.
Brilliant.
And we are going to have Dave the Pro on at some time, aren't we?
Yes, we've got Dave the Pro. We've got Eric. We've got sorry, I've forgotten his name. He's got a brain freeze. Did you just say?
Dylan Swanepoel.
Dylan Swanepoel. Yeah. And then I thought if we could, with the centenary coming up, whether or not we get enough microphones and end up with 3 or 4 guests around the sofa and just have a bit of a more
general chewing
chat.
the fat about.
So I thought we obviously need the chairman, one of the members of the Florey family, because obviously they've been within the club for the 100 years, and Mickey Dove from Whitney Mills, because we're playing them on the same of the actual 100 years since we played our first fixture, which is again, and we're having a game of 100 because it would be the last time it's played until next year.
You may not send the email today, Barnes, but actually the Bear and Barnes franchise is moving onwards and upwards because we're being asked to compare on 2 cricket matches during the summer out here. Did you know that?
Who's that then? Is that the 100 and the thing?
I think those 2 matches, we are going to be doing the MC.
There was a rumour that the guy that's captaining one of those games has actually wants one of us to play.
Yes, well, that won't be me because I have burned all my cricket kit. I couldn't even borrow these, so that'll be you, Barnes.
Well, possibly.
You might have to play mic'd up, but
yes,
anyway,
there you go.
That'd be very exciting.
Our
current producer believes that we can record our podcast from anywhere on the cricket pitch, so that would be quite entertaining.
So I could be mic'd up, heavy breathing. So a bit of an odd show.
In a piece of hot news,
yes.
We have a new drink behind the bar.
Yes, I've heard.
Called Froze.
Very good.
And
it's not this then.
No, but it tastes very similar to that on ice. But Froze, apparently we are still working out the right combinations of everything. But it's a little bit like a super alcoholic frozen rosé, a bit like creme de menthe frappe, but rosé frappe. And I did have one little sip on Sunday and nearly fell off my chair.
It's good.
So I thought
it was really good.
It could be a very interesting addition. So if you want to experience that, viewer, please come up. So, Barnes, I think we've come to that. Martin Lee has been entertained. Thank you very
Martin.
much.
Good. That's very important.
Other than that, we will keep you informed of when our next show is and who is coming on it.
Yeah, and I think we can get a bit of feedback. And obviously, if you think we're doing a really bad job, then let us know. But I think tonight was quite good because we covered 2 serious points.
Yep.
We got somebody else that's not from Oxford Downs, has got a cricketing background and a great story that he's had the courage to go off and do this for a living. So Sam, thank you for your time, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sam. Always good to see you.
And let's try and grow the show.
Yeah, and until the next show, it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Good night.
Good night.